Welcome to this deep dive, brought to you today with insights drawn directly from the market and economic insights. Update from stocktelescope.com. We're looking at the June 10th, 2025 edition.
Yeah, it's quite a snapshot. Lots of detail in there about what's really moving the needle across different sectors and economies right now.
Absolutely. And our mission here, is to sift through this update, pull out the key nuggets, connect those dots, and hopefully give you a clearer picture of the big forces at play.
Right. We'll be hitting on major corporate moves, definitely diving into tech and AI, which is just everywhere.
Everywhere. And touching on health, energy, and then wrapping up with some key economic signals, too.
So you can expect, well, a mix of big company news media, tech, finance, plus that recent economic data from both the U.S. and the U.K., trying to see the whole landscape.
Exactly, the big picture.
Yeah.
And look, if you find this kind of breakdown valuable, cutting through the noise, well, make sure you subscribe to the deep dive wherever you're listening.
Yeah, it's definitely the best way to make sure you don't miss future insights like these.
Okay, then. Let's take this stack of fresh insights from stocktelescope.com and start digging in.
Let's do it. So where should we start? Maybe the big corporate moves? Media seems like a hot spot.
Agreed. The source really paints a picture of a media landscape that's, well, shifting. First thing that jumps out is Paramount Global, PRA. They're doing layoffs.
Uh-huh. Several hundred roles, was it? Like 3.5% of their U.S. workforce?
Yeah, exactly. And the source connects this to broader cost cutting, especially, as they gear up for that planned merger with Skydance Media.
That makes sense. It feels pretty typical of the pressures these traditional media companies are facing. Streaming costs, linear TV declines.
Right. Trying to get leaner, more efficient.
Especially ahead of a big merger like that. It signals they're trying to streamline operations, find those synergies early on. It's a tough market.
Definitely trying to find that operational sweet spot. Okay, speaking of streamlining things, especially in streaming, Disney, they finally closed the deal on Hulu.
Ah, yes. Buying out Comcast's CMCSA's final stake, the 33% for, what was it, around $438 million.
That's the number. And what seems significant here, beyond the money, is that it actually puts an end to that long-running valuation argument they had.
Right, that dispute's been dragging on.
Yeah.
So for Disney, this is big. It gives them full control, finally. They can properly integrate Hulu with Disney Plus claim.
And with that new ESPN streaming service they're launching too, right?
Exactly. It clears the path, removes a layer of complexity that's been hanging over their whole direct-to-consumer strategy for years, really.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of strategic sense then. Full control, clear path forward. And then looking abroad, Netflix, NFLX, they're doubling down on local content again.
Oh, yeah. Where this time?
Spain.
Uh-huh.
The source highlights a huge investment, over $1.14 billion, planned through 2029, just for Spanish content production.
Wow, $1.14 billion. That really underscores how vital those international markets are for Netflix's growth. I mean, look at the success they've had with non-English shows.
Like Money Heist, yeah.
It's exactly. Or Squid Game. This kind of big, dedicated investment in Spain shows they're serious about creating content for specific local audiences, not just exporting global stuff. It's how they stay competitive.
It feels like a really smart play. Make it for Spain, not just in Spain. Okay, let's pivot slightly. Still corporate strategy, but moving away from media. Walmart, WMT.
Ah, the retail giant. What are they up to?
Moving into finance. They're launching new credit cards. It's through their fintech unit, OnePay, and they're partnering with Synchrony, SYF.
Interesting. That's kind of a classic retailer move, isn't it? Leverage that massive customer base, that brand trust.
And push into higher margin stuff like financial services.
Right. They process millions of transactions. Offering credit cards lets them capture more spending, get richer data, build loyalty. It's diversifying beyond just selling stuff.
It feels like they want to be more central to their customers' lives. Not just groceries, but maybe banking too.
That seems to be the ambition, yeah. Play to their strength scale and customer volume to get into a totally different market.
Okay. And then a really big deal in the insurance world, Brown & Brown, BRO, is buying Accession Risk Management.
Accession Risk. They're the parent of Risk Strategies.
That's the one. And it's a nearly $10 billion deal. $9.83 billion, the source says.
Wow, that is significant. Definitely one of the biggest consolidations we've seen recently in insurance brokerage. These deals are usually about scale, right? Getting bigger reach, more specialized expertise.
Yeah, sounds about right. And this definitely boosts Brown & Brown's market presence. Set to close Q3 2025.
So the big players just keep getting bigger in that space.
Seems like it. All right, let's totally shift gears now. Tech and AI. This feels like where everything is happening.
Oh, absolutely. So much innovation, so much investment pouring in. It's almost hard to keep up.
It really is. And the source has some fascinating stuff here, like Meta. Meta. They're putting serious weight behind AI. Zuckerberg himself.
He's personally leading a new team. Focused on what, exactly?
Superintelligence. The ultimate goal, the source says, is artificial general intelligence, AGI.
Wow. Okay, AGI. That's the big one, the sort of holy grail. AI that matches or beats human thinking across the board. Zuckerberg leading it personally. That's a huge signal.
Needs massive resources, right? Top priority.
Absolutely. And maybe a different approach, using all that metadata. It shows they're not just playing catch-up, they're aiming for the absolute frontier, a real moonshot.
A moonshot with the CEO in the cockpit.
Okay. And speaking of competition, there's a new player mentioned, Mistral, that French AI firm.
Ah, yes, Mistral. They've got Microsoft backing, right? MSFT.
They do. And they've just launched their first reasoning model. It's called Magistral.
Interesting. Reasoning model. What makes it stand out?
Well, the source highlights its design. It's built for complex tasks and, importantly, to reason effectively in multiple European languages.
Okay, so positioning against OpenAI, DeepSeek, but maybe with a specific European angle and focusing on that complex problem solving, the actual reasoning part.
That seems to be the idea. Not just language generation, but deeper cognitive stuff, tailored linguistically for Europe. Could be crucial for enterprise use. Makes sense. Okay, beyond AI models. Quantum computing gets a mention too. IBM.
Yeah, they put out a pretty bold timeline. They're talking practical quantum computer by 2029.
2029, that feels soon. And a bigger system by 2033. How are they planning that?
The source points to new error correction algorithms, which, as I understand it, is kind of the key challenge, right? The qubits are super fragile.
Exactly. Quantum states collapse easily, leading to errors. Building machines that can fix those errors in real time is the massive hurdle to making them truly practical, not just lab curiosities.
Okay. So focusing on error correction is their path to making them actually reliable for solving tough problems.
Seems like it. That timeline shows real confidence, even if widespread use is still a ways off. The research pace is just incredible.
It really is. Okay, back to AI. But the hardware side, Europe's building muscle there too. NVIDIA, NVDA, and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, HPE.
Teaming up in Germany, right, for that Blue Lion supercomputer.
That's the one. Launching 2027, using NVIDIA's Vera Rubin chips. The source frames this as really strengthening Europe's position in AI and scientific computing.
Yeah, access to that kind of raw computing power is absolutely fundamental for pushing AI forward. You need these massive machines for training the big models, running complex simulations.
So it's not just about the software smarts. You need the hardware brawn, too.
You definitely need both.
Okay, let's look at AI hitting the streets, literally. Uber, UBER, planning driverless robotaxi trials.
Where's this happening?
In London, next spring. They're partnering with an AI firm called Wayve.
Fully driverless trials in London. That's a big step. And the source mentioned an economic impact figure.
Yeah, the UK government estimates autonomous transport could add $42 billion to the economy by 2035.
42 billion. That's huge. It shows the potential, but these trials are where the rubber meets the road for figuring out the tech, the regulations, public acceptance, all of it.
Definitely highlights the disruptive potential, even if it takes time. Okay, slightly different angle within tech. Regulatory scrutiny. The FTC is looking into big ad firms.
Omnicom, WPP, Dentsu, IPG, Publicis. The giants? What's the focus?
Antitrust investigation. The source links it to alleged violations tied to those ad boycotts of X, formerly Twitter.
Ah, okay. So regulators are examining the power dynamics between the big advertisers, the agencies controlling the spend, and the platforms themselves.
Right. Are they coordinating in ways that stifle competition or maybe manipulate the market, perhaps related to platform content rules?
It's complex. Applying antitrust to the digital ad world's unique structure. Definitely one to watch.
And lastly on tech, just a quick design note from Apple, AAPL, unveiling liquid glass design.
Yeah, for iOS 26, macOS, Tahoe 26, rolling out later this year.
Yeah.
Dynamic transparency, glass-like effects. It's an aesthetic update.
So the look and feel. Less strategy, more user interface refresh.
Pretty much. Important for Apple's brand identity, keeping things looking modern, but not a fundamental tech shift like AI or quantum.
Got it. Okay, let's move off the purely digital path now. Health and energy sectors. Couple of key things mentioned in the source.
Yeah, important progress in areas affecting well-being and infrastructure.
First up, good news in health. FDA approval for Merck's, MRK's, RSV shot, and Flancia. specifically for infants.
Well, that's significant. RSV can be really serious for little ones. Having an approved shot is a big deal for protecting them.
And the timing seems key. Source says Merck is aiming for July shipments.
Right, getting it out before RSV season really hits. That's crucial for preventing illness during the peak time. Gives doctors and parents a new tool.
Definitely sounds like a positive development for public health. Okay, then in energy, Rolls-Royce, that's LONRR on the London Exchange.
What about them? Still jet engines.
Well, yes, but this is about their nuclear plants. They've secured UK government backing for 3 small modular nuclear reactors, SMRs.
Ah, SMRs. That's a significant step. These smaller reactors are seen as potentially faster, more flexible ways to get clean baseload power compared to the huge traditional plants.
And the market seems to like its shares were up. The potential impact is pretty big, too, powering 3 million homes by the mid-2030s from just these 3.
Wow, 3 million homes. That's a serious commitment from the UK government, signaling real confidence in SMRs for their energy transition and security goals. Moves the tech from concept to concrete projects for Rolls-Royce.
Definitely. Okay, let's wrap up with the economic snapshots from the source, starting in the U.S.
Right, and the picture here is still, well, kind of mixed. Depends where you look.
On one hand, U.S. small business optimism ticked up in May. First time since December, the source says. Sounds positive.
It's cautiously positive. But the source adds important context. Even with the mood lifting slightly, owners are still really worried about taxes and potential inventory shortages.
Okay. So optimism might just mean less pessimistic, not exactly feeling great, still looking over their shoulders.
That feels like the right read. The underlying worries haven't gone away.
And then, inflation expectations. A notable drop in May, according to that New York Fed survey.
Yeah, the one-year outlook fell quite a bit, down to 3.2%. That's down 0.4 points from April. That is encouraging because expectations can sometimes influence actual inflation.
But the big caveat the source includes, expectations aren't reality.
Exactly. It's sentiment about the future, not the present measurement. Central banks watch it closely, but it's just one data point. It suggests people might be sensing a cooling trend, but we still need to see it in the actual data.
Okay. Let's hop across the Atlantic, the UK labor market picture.
Yeah, and that looks distinctly softer than the U.S. small business sentiment. UK wage growth slowed down 5.2% in the 3 months to April, weakest since September 2024.
And unemployment went up?
Yep, up to 4.6%, highest since May 2021. And the source ties this to fewer job vacancies and fewer people actually on company payrolls.
So slower wage growth, higher unemployment, fewer job openings, fewer payrolls. Sounds like a clear cooling trend.
It really paints that picture. Suggests the post-pandemic job market tightness is easing off in the UK. That has implications for spending, for Bank of England policy.
Real signs of a slowdown on the jobs front there.
That's what this update strongly indicates, yeah.
Okay, lastly, the source gives a quick peek at some estimated IPOs for this week, starting June 10th.
Right, a little window into market activity. Who's coming?
Let's see. Integrity Specialty Holdings and Insurance, Voyager Technologies and Aerospace Defense, Chime Financial, that's the digital banking one.
Ah, Chime. They're pretty big now, right?
Yeah. Source notes over $1.8 billion revenue, still growing over 30%. And also Vantage Corp in shipbroking.
Chime's numbers do stand out. $1.8 billion revenue for a digital bank shows there's still investor appetite for those big fintech growth stories, even now.
Definitely one to watch as it prices and starts trading. Highlights that disruptive tech theme again.
Absolutely.
Well, that brings us through the specific points from the stocktelescope.com update.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. Media shifts, AI, and quantum leaps, health, energy, those economic indicators.
It really does show how interconnected everything is. You know, looking back, it's striking how many things tie back to tech, especially AI and computing. Meta's AGI goal, Mistral, that German supercomputer, Uber's robotaxis.
It's undeniable. The underlying tech, the infrastructure, the applications, they're just driving so much change across almost every industry we talked about.
And then you contrast that with the economic signals for a bit of cautious optimism here, clear cooling there. It shows innovation is racing ahead, but the broader economy, it's navigating a much more uneven path.
Exactly. It's not a simple narrative. But looking across all these different pieces gives you that richer, more nuanced view of what's actually shaping things right now.
So building on all that, maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Considering this rapid pace of AI and computing, these shifts in big industries, the mixed economic signals, what's the single biggest challenge or maybe opportunity that you see emerging from all this, specifically for you, in your world over the next, say, year or two?
That's a good question. Definitely something worth pondering.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the latest insights from stocktelescope.com. And remember, do subscribe wherever you're listening so you don't miss our next exploration.